There are some pretty much disgusting startups that are pushing ADHD meds through TikTok ads, and this is concerning some doctors, according to this story. And the thing that people need to understand, ADHD medications are basically like legalized meth. Like, it's crazy. So let's get right into it. A wave of startups are using slick TikTok ads and loosened drug regulations to sell prescription medications for ADHD like Adderall and Vyvanse, raising ethical and legal questions from doctors. In a typical spot from San Francisco based Doan, a young woman swallows a pill from an orange prescription bottle with the caption reads, "What it's like to take ADHD medication." The ad then moves to a shot of the woman typing on a computer while the phrases "focusing better," "better time management," and "less anxiety" appear above her head. Another shot then encourages users to get affordable ADHD treatment through Doan's website. Dr. Ravi Shah, a psychiatrist at Columbia University, says the ad is blurring the line between medication for a clinical indication and a supplement to help improve performance because drugs like Adderall and Vyvanse are often abused on college campuses and in offices. The ad makes it seem as though this is what will happen if you take ADHD medications, but whether you actually have ADHD is not necessarily relevant, he said. Combined with other social media posts and sketchy Google search results, the proliferation of drug ads on TikTok can convince kids to diagnose themselves with conditions they may not actually have, according to University of Colorado psychiatrist Dr. C. Neil Epperson. I hear parents say, my kid comes to me and says, I think I have ADHD, PTSD, bipolar disorder, etc. They're like, where's my kid getting this? Emerson told the Post. Where are these diagnoses coming from when I haven't taken my child to a mental health care provider? We haven't even spoken to their pediatrician. So, in addition to potentially drawing in users who are misdiagnosing themselves with ADHD, psychiatrists say that the startups run the risk of attracting people who are looking to get high or flip the pills for a profit. A TikTok ad for another San Francisco startup ahead promises users a simplified treatment for ADHD in just 3 steps. 1. Fill an online form. 2. Prescriptions delivered. 3. Appointments are online. Until recently, users who thumbed over to Ahead's website were greeted with a list of drugs: Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, and Vyvanse, all prescription stimulants that are restricted by the U.S. government due to their potential for addiction and abuse. Dr. Yamalas Diaz, a child and adolescent psychology specialist at New York University's Grossman School of Medicine, says flaunting names of medications online runs the risk of encouraging would-be patients to pursue specific drugs. That is a really, really thin line between advertising and almost baiting, Diaz told the Post, especially among younger patients. They have certain names in their mind. Beyond being ethically questionable, Shaw added that Ahead's practice of naming particular medications rather than just advertising generalized treatment for ADHD risks violating the law. In my capacity running clinics and advising companies, I would not suggest listing the names of controlled substances as part of marketing, Shaw said. The Post asked the Food and Drug Administration for comment on Ahead's listing of specific ADHD drugs on Wednesday, and the following day Ahead removed the listed drugs from its website, replacing it instead with a shorter line noting that the site offers stimulants, e.g., Adderall. FDA spokesperson Kimberly DeFonso refused to say whether the agency had contacted Ahead about the issue, saying the FDA does not comment on individual services or websites. Ahead and Doan, which does not appear to list names of specific drugs on its site, but does offer controlled substances, did not respond to requests for comment. So Diaz, the NYU psychologist who works with children, also takes issue with what she calls Ahead and Doan's medication-forward advertising. This could mislead people into thinking the treatment for ADHD is medication, she said, when in fact the first-line treatment for ADHD should be behavioral therapy before you try meds or behavioral therapy combined with meds. A third startup, Cerebral, offers both therapy and prescription medications for ADHD and other conditions like anxiety and depression. It previously ran TikTok ads that flaunted ADHD meds, but appears to have removed many of them ahead of a Bloomberg expose published on Friday. Current and former employees told the outlet that Cerebral pushed pills too hard, advertised too aggressively, and failed to adequately follow up with patents, potentially creating a new addiction crisis, and Cerebral did not respond to a request for comment from the Post. Diaz said that physicians responsible for evaluating patients through sites like Doan and Head might feel pressure to write ADHD drug prescriptions for patients who actually have other conditions like anxiety or depression. Inattention, difficulty focusing, is kind of like a fever. You can't assume it's related to one particular thing, she said. I also hate for these providers to feel pressured to quote unquote treat ADHD and completely miss or overlook that this person is struggling with another disorder altogether. Every doctor interviewed by the Post for this story said that online health services can help increase access to much needed treatment for many people, but also cautioned that so-called telemedicine can be dangerous without restrictions. In 2008, Congress passed a bill called the Ryan-Haidt Act, which was named after an 18-year-old who died from an opiate overdose using Vicodin pills he was prescribed online. The act made it illegal in most situations for doctors to prescribe scheduled drugs such as opiates and amphetamines without first seeing patients in person. However, the DEA changed its implementation of the act in 2020 due to the coronavirus, allowing doctors to prescribe Schedule II through V drugs, a category that includes narcotics like Adderall and Vicodin, but excludes marijuana through the internet. The measure will remain in place until the public health emergency of the coronavirus is over, according to the DEA. It's unclear how startups like Doan and Ahead, which use the convenience and speed of the internet as a key part of their pitches, will adapt if the DEA reverses the rule. But Jan Panchen, a clinical child psychiatry professor at Yale School of Medicine, says that seeing patients in person is an important part of the process before prescribing potentially dangerous and addictive ADHD drugs. I, for one, would be rather uncomfortable with offering controlled substances to someone that I literally never saw and no one in my practice ever saw, he told the Post. It's very concerning. Ponson also said that the intimate nature of drug ads on TikTok compared to traditional advertising techniques like TV or magazines can make it difficult for parents or doctors to monitor what drugs children are being told they should take. When it gets to that level of targeted marketing, then the rest of us don't necessarily know about it, he said. There's no way for people to know what other people are experiencing. And that's a really good point, right? Like, this is kind of like a really scary thing because the way to really think about it, the reason why they are pushing so hard is because they know that they can make a disgusting amount of money in terms of like repeat buyers every single month because these people are going to end up getting addicted potentially to these prescriptions and they're going to get it every single month on a repeat basis and it's going to get more and more and more because they're going to start to get desensitized to the doses. So now they're going to probably be spending like hundreds of dollars every single month, if not thousands of dollars every single month for these prescription medications. So it's going to get really nuts. So this is a crazy way to make money and also potentially a very dangerous way.